Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ha, Rekah, Kwadash, Mama. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my apostle as well, Aharawan, Banyasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Atwafium, and Bunyam children that believe in truth and sincerity. This is your brother, I thank y'all back to you another lesson. And Yahweh Ratazah is edifying. So I tend to wake up 4 in the morning, like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, where pretty much, the opposite side of the globe, the Lord's footstool is awake. You can see on live, if you just scroll down on your feed on YouTube around that time in the morning, it's just all type of stuff going on there as far as live. It's like they go live over there in China, Philippines, on the other side of the country. But when they going live, they're showing what they do on a daily basis at work and stuff like that. And it's just stood out to me the way the guy move and stuff like that. And of course you got trolls in the comments laughing at him. But just watch how he's a master with the pot and how fast he moves. And I brought it to some brothers' attention. It's like, yeah, he works hard to feed his family and things like that. They're hard workers when it comes to MOAB, right? But we know at the end all be all, every kingdom needs slaves. All right, and that's what it's all going to amount to. All right, so we just go play this little video right quick and get a couple of scriptures, man. Yahweh Ratazah is edifying. Say he too slow. He gonna be in the kingdom, man. He ain't gonna be moving fast enough. Alright.
上来线少点，上来线稍辣一点，稍辣一点呗。上来线少点，上来线稍辣一点。冷掉了，菜都冷掉了，开一回全部冷掉了。
要三个炒肉丝，刚才炒辣肠加上你说，
菜马上冷掉了。
炒菜了，炒菜了。
青椒香干炒肉丝是吧？
是的。
Servants and handmaids ultimately, right? One of the first scriptures I want to grab is the book of Psalms, chapter 60 and verse 8. And it reads, Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Right. Philistia, triumphant thou because of me. Right. Moab is the Lord washpot. Over Edom will he cast out his shoe. Philistia, triumphant thou because of me. Right, as anybody was to triumph, it's going to be because of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. He ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he give it to whoever so he will. And that's pertaining to the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and verse 17. All right, but this is how the Lord feel about these other nations, man. Moab being the so-called Chinese, right? And Edom being the Edomites, all right? Descendants of Esau, all right? And we know who that is today. All right, and what they self-proclaim themselves to be, as far as the color out of the crayon box, right? But that's how the Lord feel about these heathen nations, man. When you go into the term washpot, let's just see what the term washpot ultimately means in the etymology. You can see he's a master of the pot. And it's H55 and 18, Sir.
Strong's H5518, Seer.
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 Seer. All right. Pot. Household utensil. Pot of temple. Thorn, hook, briar, thorns, hook. All right. So up to me, you go do what the Lord will is, man. All right. And we make fun, and you can see the nation of Moab and how, they you know, they're known for what they're known for ultimately. You know, the hospitality, the washing of the feet. And as you can see, this guy here is a master of the pot. All right, so this is how the Lord feel about these heathen nations, man. But Jake think that the Lord, because of his chastisement, that he feels the same way about them. All right, this is the book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 1. All right, and it's titled God's Love for Jacob. All right, it says the burden of the word of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to Israel by Malachi, as he speak through his men, as he's speaking through his men today. Right, that's the prophets. The spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets, man. They here today doing the same thing, doing the work and the will of the Lord, teaching the truth, establishing the truth, ushering the Lord in, all right, the Heavenly Father in. Verse 2, I have loved you, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Right. Saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob. Right. And I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness, right? You know, so that's why he set up Esau ultimately, and he's now also caught because he's striven against the Lord, man. You know, swearing falsely by the Lord's name, putting in God he trusts on the dollar, all right? Salakia, all right? But the young ladies, they toning down this northern kingdom. You can't even get mad at them. They so graceful. You know, respectable. They ain't like the Evites. But just to continue on, man, the Lord put Esau up on a pedestal ultimately to strip him down. All right, like what they say in the world, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. All right, but 2/3 of our people think that the chastisement of the Lord and what we go through here on this side in captivity is for non-profit. All right, it's ultimately going to yield the first fruits. All right, those who desire a new kingdom and a new earth, those who repented, those who are have a certain conviction. All right, and ultimately want to give their allegiance to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the God of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, man. All right, so what? 2/3 of our people is the only ones that's going to say, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Right, that's why they want to do what they want to do. They want to do as thou wilt. They want to do what the heathen do, right? But the book of Psalms say, what? Fret not thyself because of evildoers, right? Again, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. Because the Lord said he what? He hated Esau. It's hated in the scriptures, all right? For the God of the Bible to be all love, that's a false balance. And a false balance is an abomination, man. All right, so as he loved, he also hates. All right, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Right, pertaining to Psalms 49 and 11, they think that their inward parts, they think that their houses go continue forever, man. That's why they put hell on Jake. You know, they can give a dang about Jake pertaining to being a part of the system. All right, last one hired, the first one fired. All right, we need the Lord to save us from this captivity. All right, we're the only nation of people that need to be saved from a trap. The trap is for us, for the Lord's people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, man. And those are the speckled bird who may look like the other nations, but they bear the same spirit as such. They bear witness to this truth. The Lord say what? They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. And the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever, and your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Lord will be magnified from the border of Israel. Right. He gonna show that through what? His first fruits, through the elect of Israel, man. All right. But who want to be just like Esau? MOAB, the so-called Chinese, they want to be just like Esau. Look at how everything was taken from America, from Babylon the Great, as far as the manufacturing, right, the industrial complex, and it went over to Moab. All right, now everything comes over here as, you know, this is places a consuming based type of establishment, business, country. All right, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 13 and verse 24. He that spareth his rod hateth his son. Right. All right. You spare from chastisement, you really hate your son. You really hate your daughter. All right, discipline ultimately go flee deceit, roughly paraphrasing. All right, so you want discipline, you want structure within your home, your household, your spirit. But he that loveth him, chastening him betimes, right? You know, you'll chasten him betimes, man. Time and time again till he get correction, till he understand. I understand it now, right? This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 26 and verse 10. Just to get another quick point, it says, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, right? And that's what Esau doing, man. You sped a rod, you spoiled a child, right? This all go back to not just Jacob and Esau, but his spiritual forefather, Cain, right? When Cain and Abel looked alike, Cain gave up an abominable sacrifice, and he thought he got away with it, all right? As Abel was pleading to the Lord, all right? For what did the Lord say to Abel, man? He's going to make him a vagabond and a fugitive amongst the earth, meaning what? A vagabond and a fugitive, man, for ransom, all right? So again, as the Lord said, Esau, eat him up, all right? Thou art bound and also caught because thou hast striven against the Lord, man. You got to pay back from ancient times, right? From the spiritual ancient times. Let favor be showed to the wicked. And this is back in Isaiah 26 and 10. Yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, right? He deal unjustly. You know, touching the apple of the Lord's eye, persecution, you know, mischief by Allah, right? And will not behold the majesty of the Lord, man. And that's why this is his kingdom. This is his heaven. He's living out his blessing, all right? And we had no partakers of it. And when we enter in our blessing, all right, this new covenant that's fastly approaching, he's not going to have partakers in that blessing, all right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 48, in verse 11. Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on his lees, and have not been emptied from vessel to vessel. Neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remaineth in him, and his scent is not changed, right? All right? So just as much as they think they're going to be the new economical power in this global reset, this new world order, this fourth industrial revolution, all right, the Lord has other plans. You know, as they fighting over the Lord's footstool, you know, we preparing to enter into his gates, the Shemayim's, man. As is done in heaven, it's going to be established here on earth, all right? You know, and that's going to start with the elect, you know, cleaning up, you know, establishing, the Lord's kingdom, man. Yahweh Shai, under King David, being that new governing body, all right? So that's what he told us, how much he loved us. Over in his father's house, there's many mansions, man. All right. This is Revelation chapter 18, and I'll start at verse 1. All right, going into Babylon's falling. All right, and how Moab, the so-called Chinese, they're not going to be the new economical global power. And this is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, in a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, right? For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? We're speaking on Moab, right? How they think they're going to be the new economical power. Or like creating social credit score systems, right? Stealing information, even had to create their own version of TikTok. Babylon the Great did, being that they don't trust, or they're playing the game as if they don't trust Moab, but it's a stage, right? Being NATO and the EU, NATO is done with the great whore of her pillaging, raping, robbing, unaliving for the resources. Now it's to set up shop through
Moab, China, to be the new financier on the earth. All right, and you can see that through the BRICS alliance and in the seat that they hold, similar to Babylon the Great. You know, as far as the finances and economically, you know, the structure of how the Lord is setting things up. All right. So what? Moab, the so-called Chinese, they're guilty right here, verse 3. All right, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. All right, one of the main ones is Moab. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? Not being emptied from vessel to vessel, right? They don't get things given to them and taken away from them like the Bushes did Iraq and Iran, all right? Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. All right, I'm going to get to the point, all right, because we know these scriptures. And it says here in verse 11, Salaki, in verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore, right? And the merchandise of gold and of silver, right? Today that equates to what? Everything made in China, you know. But Shalom Habadah, DTA, until the next one.